I knew something was terribly wrong when my mother's voice cracked over the phone and she whispered, "They're saying your sister committed financial misconduct, and they want you to fix it." That was the moment my stomach dropped, because I already knew exactly how this would end. My name is Elena Reyes, the so-called cold, selfish daughter of my family. At least, that's what my parents loved to whisper anytime I refused to sacrifice myself for their favorite child, my younger sister, Ariana. She was the golden girl, the princess, the one who could do no wrong even when she did nothing but wrong. 3 months ago, they told me I was greedy simply because I wouldn't invest $50,000 into Ariana's luxury boutique dream. They said I lacked family loyalty. They said I didn't want to see my sister win. But today, hearing my mother tremble, I realized the truth. Ariana's boutique didn't just fail. It imploded. With missing funds, unpaid suppliers, and boxes of fake designer products traced back to her business. Authorities were involved. And now my parents, who once laughed at my caution, were begging me to step up and save the family name.
Except they didn't know something.
I wasn't the same daughter they used to control. And before this was over, they'd wish they never called me. My parents always treated responsibility like a buffet: take what you like, leave what you don't, and dump the rest onto me. Growing up, Ariana floated through life like everything existed to serve her. If she wanted a new car, my parents found a way. If she wanted to try modeling, acting, painting, whatever hobby sparkled that week, they supported it like she was a prodigy.
Me?
I worked. I saved. I built my career step by step, while they said things like, "Elena, don't be so uptight. Money comes and goes." Easy words to say when someone else is expected to provide it. When Ariana announced her luxury boutique startup, my parents practically rolled out a red carpet. She didn't have a business plan, suppliers, or any experience. She just had Instagram screenshots of other women's stores and a Pinterest board. At dinner that night, she batted her lashes and said, "Lenny, you make good money. Just invest in me. It's what sisters do." I calmly refused. Explained the risks. Suggested she start small. My father slammed his fork down. "Your sister dreams big, Elena. Try supporting her for once." My mother muttered, "Greedy. Always thinking of yourself." That night, I walked out of their house feeling like the villain in their story. Little did they know, the real storm hadn't even begun. The first cracks appeared faster than anyone expected, except me. Ariana's grand opening was a disaster disguised with champagne glasses and rented neon signs. I remember standing in her boutique, staring at shelves stocked with questionable handbags and jewelry I knew weren't authentic. When I quietly asked, "Ariana, are these certified?" she rolled her eyes so hard I thought they'd get stuck. "Customers don't care. They just want the look. Stop being dramatic." My parents were too busy taking selfies in front of her entrepreneur wall to notice the warning signs. Then came the late-night calls. Suppliers misplacing invoices. Shipments stuck at customs. Customers demanding refunds. Ariana blamed everyone but herself. My parents blamed me because I refused to help her get the right guidance from the start. One evening, my father cornered me outside their house. "If you had invested, she wouldn't be struggling like this. You abandoned your sister." Abandoned?
No.
I simply refused to be their financial crutch. But the real breaking point happened 2 weeks later. I got a message from a colleague who worked in compliance. "Isn't this your sister? There's an investigation starting about counterfeit goods and missing business funds." My heart dropped, because I knew exactly what was coming next, and they would drag me into the fire with them if I let them. The humiliation moment came on a rainy Thursday, a day I will never forget. I had just left a meeting when my phone started buzzing nonstop. Missed calls from my mother, my father, even Ariana, who never called unless she needed something. Then a notification popped up from a local business forum, a public post. A photo of Ariana's boutique door sealed with an official notice taped across it. "Business closed pending investigation." The comments were brutal. Customers demanding refunds. Vendors accusing her of disappearing with payments. One woman claimed Ariana sold her a luxury Italian bag that smelled like fresh glue and arrived with a logo crooked. I stood on the sidewalk, rain soaking my blazer, as strangers shared details of my sister's downfall, details even I didn't know. Then came the true punch to the gut. A video. My parents outside the boutique, arguing with investigators. And in the background, Ariana sobbing dramatically while yelling, "Call my sister. She has money. She can fix this. Elena, please, Elena." People stared at me through their screens, as if I were the villain who caused all this. That night, my parents showed up at my apartment unannounced. My father's voice shook with desperation. "Elena, they're saying Ariana could face criminal charges. You have to cover her debts. All of them." I looked at them and realized they expected me to sacrifice everything. They had no idea what my answer would unleash. For the first time in my life, I didn't feel guilt. I felt clarity, a quiet, razor-sharp calm that settled in my chest the moment my father said, "You have to save your sister." They didn't ask. They demanded. As if my career, my savings, my future were just family property they could repossess at any moment. I invited them inside, letting them believe, just for a moment, that I was considering it. My mother clutched my arm like I was a lifeboat. Ariana sat on my couch, blotting fake tears, already rehearsing her redemption speech. While they talked over each other, blaming jealous competitors, bad luck, and misunderstandings, I studied Ariana's designer shoes, paid for with money she didn't have, and made my choice. I wasn't going to slash anyone's tires or scream in the street.
No.
My revenge was going to be smarter, quieter, and perfectly legal. I excused myself, walked to my desk, and opened a folder I'd been keeping for months, screenshots, messages, invoices Ariana sent me back when she was bragging about her shortcut suppliers. Evidence. All of it. If they wanted me involved, I would involve myself on my terms. When I returned to the living room, they looked at me with desperate, expectant eyes. And I smiled because the plan had already formed. I sat across from them, folding my hands calmly while their panic filled the room like smoke. My mother leaned forward. "Elena, please. Tell us you'll pay it. We already told the investigator you would." There it was. The entitlement. The assumption. The belief that my life existed to clean up Ariana's disasters. I took a slow breath. "I'll help," I said softly. 3 faces lit up, too quickly, too eagerly. Then I added, "But first, I need Ariana to sign something." My sister froze. "Sign what?" I slid a folder toward her. Inside was a legally drafted agreement transferring full financial liability, ownership records, accounting access, supplier contracts, everything to her alone. No gray areas. No family involvement. Just Ariana, fully responsible for her own business. She paled. "Why would I sign this?" I met her eyes. "Because right now the investigators can't tell if the money trails lead to you or to the people who funded you. That includes our parents. This agreement shows you acted alone. It protects them." My parents stiffened. They hadn't thought of that. I watched Ariana's hands shake as she signed, realizing too late she'd just separated herself from the only shield she had. The moment her pen left the paper, I stood. My voice steady.
Good.
Now I can hand everything over. Their confusion snapped into fear. And that was exactly what I wanted. My parents stared at me as if the floor had tilted beneath them. Ariana clutched the signed papers, her face draining of color. "Hand it over to who?" my father finally croaked. I picked up the folder. Months of Ariana's bragging, scheming, and cutting corners neatly documented, and slipped it into my bag. The investigators. My mother gasped like I'd slapped her. "Elena, no. You said you'd help us." I shook my head slowly. "I said I'd handle it. And I am." Ariana shot up from the couch. "You're turning me in? I'm your sister." Her sister. The same sister who called me greedy, who mocked my career, who expected me to sacrifice everything for her shortcuts. I looked straight at her. "You signed off that you acted alone. I'm not taking responsibility for crimes you committed." My father lunged toward me, but the anger in his face faltered when I added, "And if either of you try to drag my name into this, I have proof you knew about her counterfeit suppliers long before the investigators did. You encouraged her business shortcuts." Silence.
Thick.
Terrified. For the first time in my life, I watched my parents fear me, not because I threatened them, but because I finally stopped letting them control me. Ariana collapsed back onto the couch, whispering, What's going to happen to me?" I opened the door. Consequences. Something you've never had before. And I walked out. But the final twist was still waiting. The next week, the fallout hit like a slow-moving earthquake. Investigators called me in, calmly, professionally. I provided everything: the screenshots, invoices, messages, timestamps, Ariana's signed liability agreement. They didn't need much else. They already had statements from suppliers and customers. Ariana's empire had been built on shortcuts, lies, and counterfeit goods. My involvement?
None. Clean.
Documented. Untouchable. My parents tried calling nonstop, leaving frantic voicemails that swung between begging and blaming. I didn't answer. Then, 2 days later, my mother showed up outside my office building, shaking. "Elena, your sister might face charges. They froze her accounts. They're saying she could owe over $200,000. I looked at her, feeling nothing but the final, hollow closure of a wound that had taken years to form. "She made those choices," I said quietly. My mother's voice cracked. "But what will we do? We depended on her business, too." There it was. The twist. Ariana wasn't just reckless. My parents had been secretly funneling their own finances through her boutique, trying to use her business as a tax shield. And they were being investigated next. They hadn't lost just Ariana's business. They were losing everything. My mother grabbed my arm. "Please fix this." I gently removed her hand. "For years, you told me I was greedy.
Cold.
Selfish." I stepped back. Turns out, I was the only adult in this family. As I walked away, I felt something I hadn't felt in years. Lightness. Freedom. And for the first time, the story of my family wasn't mine to fix. It was theirs to answer for.